Don't look at me.
Hey, guys.
Look at that. It's 2 o'clock. We are right on schedule. Yes. We do have almost 200 people registered for this webinar. So if you're in the waiting room coming in, we're just going to give it a little bit of time. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for carving time out of your day to join us. We're really excited to share information on mastering the art of video.
And we all match so nicely.
Yes, and this was not planned.
But we're going to tell you that it was.
We're going to act like it was.
We would tell you to do this if we were actually coaching you.
Exactly.
It's good to see all your faces.
Yes, one of our first tips is you're going to be talking to the world, but you're literally just looking at a tiny little camera hole.
Exactly.
Is that the technical term, Jason? Camera hole?
What's that, Deborah?
Is that the technical term, the camera hole?
Yes.
That's what the big time pros call it, the camera hole. Stare down the camera hole.
All right. Obviously, we're professionals here.
That's right.
All right. We got Jessica Wadley. Hey. Dawn.
Hi, Jessica Wadley.
Welcome, welcome. I'm seeing all these beautiful names. Karen Short's here. Tina, Hazel, Alicia. Perfect. Awesome. Well, we have a good batch here, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So first off, I want to welcome everybody. My name is Debra K. I am the founder of Well World TV. And just to give you a little logistics about what we're going to cover today, this is about mastering video. So it's interesting because I've been in the video world for a while now, and I have conversations with people all the time and say, you guys really need to be doing video. And now, because of this situation that we're in, to really stay relevant, you have to start doing video and you have to become a master at it. So that's really what this course is about. So we're going to cover, there's 4 phases in video production, in my opinion. So there's the pre-phase, where you really have to think about, why am I creating video? What's the purpose of it? Do I have a strategy for this video? The second phase is, what equipment do I need? So Jason's really going to cover from ground zero all the way up to higher level, the types of equipment that you can have. And then DL's really an expert about on-camera presence. So before that camera ever goes live, you really need to polish your skills so that you feel confident, because when the camera goes live and you start recording, that moment will pass, but literally your video could be around forever. And then if we have time, we're also going to cover the broadcast option. So now I have this beautiful, wonderful video that I'm very proud of. Where do I put it, and how do I get it in front of the right eyeballs? So I'm going to introduce our esteemed guest today, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to weave in a little story as we kind of move through our journey here together today. And I want to tell you a little bit about these guys and how I met them. So, Jason, are you there? Oops. Okay. This is great. Okay, but we're going to continue on because I have a feeling they're going to come back here and join us. So in 2011, I got very clear in my mind that I wanted to create and produce a television show. Now, keep in mind, at that time, I had never had any media training. I had never been on camera. I had never worked with a video crew. But I knew that I wanted to create a television show. And so when I started to do the outreach, and that the part of this conversation is really about, why are you doing this? Why do you want to create video? So at that time, I felt content on that would educate and inspire people on all the different healthy options that existed in the world. And so the path that I traveled is to establish that sense of purpose and that sense of vision. And that's really what motivated me to take the next step so that I could start to acquire the resources that would inform me on what my next steps would be to create video. And that's how I met Jason and Deborah, who's joining me here today. And Jason, so the first step was, I need to have an idea about video content and production and how to do different things like that. So I started to reach out in my network and found Jason, who was doing some videography and some production. And as soon as I met with him and I started to explain to him what my vision and my journey was, he got it immediately. So when you're looking for production resources, you want them to deliver for you more than just the logistics of production. Like, I can bring a crew, I can bring a camera, I can bring lights. Like, you want a person in the room behind that camera who really understands you and what it is that you're trying to develop. And he saw my vision. He said, oh my gosh, yes, we can travel the world, we'll capture this content, we'll be able to really change and impact people's lives. And so Jason came into the fold and really helped me to deliver to that sense of purpose and passion. And then Deborah Locker I had met through the International Spa Association, and she brought to the table such a great understanding of being a producer and all of the logistics that has to happen to set up interviews, like even setting up this webinar. There's a whole process behind the scenes that most people don't ever see. Who are my experts? What's my topic? I need to get their bios. I need to get their headshots. Now I need to build the webinar and capture the video. And so all of these things are going on behind the scenes, and she is really a master at being able to deliver that and also make sure that when that television camera rolled for the first time, that I felt as comfortable and confident as possible. So let's see here. Hold on, this is like live in the moment, and I seem to have lost my co-host. Hold, please. Oh, here they come. They're coming back. So this is really good, and everybody, this actually isn't going to throw me off too much, just because in this moment, everything is a little bit chaos. So Jason and Deborah are actually in Kentucky, and I am here in South Florida. And so a lot of the video that's launching right now is we are totally dependent on technology and making sure that all of this stuff is in sync. So my first advice, here they come, would be to stay patient.
It's saying tilted to
don't go crazy.
portrait mode.
It's not the end of the world, and everything's going to work out. So Jason is coming back online. Thank you so much. I thought I might be winging this on my own, which I can do. If you guys are watching, I can do that. But I really, really wanted Deborah Locker and Jason to join me. So Deborah, hopefully you can turn your video on. But Jason, you just missed the introduction I gave for you on how we met, and we started to create the Journey into Wellbeing TV show, which, by the way, my overall message for you is that if I can do that, if I can launch television shows, which I have 3 now, 2 of which were picked up by PBS, one of them earned an Addy Award, thanks to these guys. One of them earned an Emmy nomination, thanks to these guys. And my 3rd TV show was nominated by some international film festivals. So the one message I want you to get, if nothing else from this, is I know that you can do this. And if you have a dream and a passion and you have something that you want to share, you absolutely can start creating video and make it happen, because I did it. And if I can do it, I know that you can do it. Jason, are you there?
That is, once we started working with you and seeing how far you came, practice makes perfect in your case. So, I mean, you really became, if you think about like 2 years in, once we started working together, you kind of became the one wonder. And that wasn't always the case with you. So
Exactly.
You had a lot of good natural ability to start with. And you also had a really good story to start with, which is also the biggest part that we're going to talk about today too, I think. So.
Yes. So what was your, so when you think about Jason, you know, having that sense of passion and purpose when you're really in that creative phase, what's the most important thing to you that you would share?
Well, I think that, you know, all of us have a story to tell, and we might not think of our lives in that particular framework, but we all have something that we can share with the world. And we're all natural born storytellers. So I think when you think about your passion, think about the things that you're good at and the things and the stories that have shaped your life. And those will be the things that you can, I think, manifest into a really powerful story to share with other people. And it's part of the human story. So I think if you can harness those passions and the things that you're good at and kind of find a way to tell that as part of your story, you'll go really, really far. And using video to do that is going to be critical.
Yes. Absolutely. And I mentioned to everybody before you got back on that was one of the key things about me making the decision to work with you, is that I had a dream and I had a vision and you saw it immediately. So out of every proposal that I received from other video production companies, you were like, oh my God, we can change the world. Let's go do it. And, you know, that was 2011. So that was a long time ago, and we've worked together many, many times. But I would say to you, take the time before you start creating video to really clarify what your sense of purpose is, even if it's a business video. What is your intention for it? Because a lot of businesses now are starting to transition where they're not just creating commercials. Because if you start creating content about your products, your services, your ordering process, people are going to move on. But if you're telling a story that really relates to your business and you're offering some sort of education or inspiration to your viewer, and it's subtly enveloped within the brand that you're promoting, people will fall in love with you and what you're giving them, and then they'll naturally want to do business with you. And that's really the key to making a difference with your video, but also being able to make a profit.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And I think that, you know, when you and I had a chance to connect, I think we were sitting at Panera the first time we met, and we kind of connected and had that face-to-face where we heard each other's stories and could see, you know, the passion in each other's eyes and how, you know, intent we were on actually making a difference in the world. I think that was the thing that kind of said, yeah, we're definitely going to be partnering together on something. So
Yep.
I agree with you completely. People don't get passionate about widgets and numbers and, you know, things like that. That might help them make a decision, but it's not the thing that actually seals the deal for them. I think it's that passion, that personal connection.
Yep. And now we're going to transition into our second session or section portion of the webinar, which really is when I'm talking about doing video like I did to create a television show. That's a huge process. So we had 2 camera people, an audio person. I had an on-set producer. It's very expensive. It's very time consuming. But the reality is today you do not need that sort of equipment. And so literally right now I am on my laptop using my Mac. I do have a very stable internet connection so that, you know, there's certain things I need to hedge my bets with, but there's all sorts of ways for you to capture video today that it's not overwhelming in the sense like, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to manage a production crew. Jason, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the basic equipment needs?
Sure. Yeah, so we're troubleshooting a technical issue over here, which happens on any level.
This video, see, we tricked you. This video is actually how to navigate all the bad case scenarios that could happen and still look very professional.
That's great. We had people literally come into all of our buildings where we're located, pull every plug, turn off every light, and see if we can scramble to get it to work while we're on live TV. That's the whole purpose of this webinar today. Yeah, so for equipment, there's really not a one size fits all solution. There are a lot of different options available for people depending on what your needs are. So I think all of us right now are in that mode where we have to be on video whether we want to be or not, right? So I don't think there's a person out there who hasn't gone to a Zoom meeting, maybe 100 Zoom meetings already since the pandemic has started. And then all the way up to people who are producing professional content that they're wanting to live, you know, out there forever. So the first thing at the most basic level, I think you obviously would know that you need a camera of some sort, and we have tons of cameras all around us. We have your laptop camera, your iPhone camera, and everything else. But I think that the first thing to look at is what your purpose is, like what your goal is. So if you're literally just someone who's going to be doing some good Zoom meetings, keep with your laptop, keep with your iPhone. You don't need to invest in anything more than that, but there's still some tips to make you look a lot better. If you're looking to do some video that you want to, like a webinar, or you're wanting to do some content that you're wanting to live on beyond this pandemic, it's worth investing in a camera. And we'll put these links up later, but there's a really good camera option that's actually on sale right now. It's the Panasonic GH4. It's a DSLR camera, which is a digital SLR camera. And it looks like a still camera, but it works really, really well. It integrates with your computer, and you're able to capture really professional looking images. That's one that I would definitely recommend. But I'm not going to make a blanket recommendation that that's the camera that you need to buy. One piece of advice, one question I get all the time is, what's the best camera to buy? And the best camera is always the camera that you have with you. So how many times have you been on vacation and you have your professional camera with you if you have one, but then you end up taking the best 10 pictures of your trip using your iPhone. If you're able to use a camera and it's accessible, it's right there, it's the best camera. So the Panasonic GH4 or GH5, they're great options for cameras. I think the GH4 is around $500 right now. The GH5 is a little pricier. There's a lot of other options. So at the first level, you do need the camera. If you're gonna use your laptop or your iPhone or your smartphone, you really don't need anything more than that in terms of camera equipment. If you're using a DSLR or some other professional camera, you're gonna need something called a capture device. And this is, there's one option called the Elgato HD60S Plus, and we're gonna also provide a link for that. What it does is it takes the signal out from your camera, feeds it into your computer, and then you're able to use it basically as a webcam, but you're using a professional camera as a webcam. And if you're doing that, you may want to invest in a little lavalier mic like I have here. That can either go into your computer or into your camera, and you can have much better sounding audio, which does bring me to my next point about audio, and that is that anytime someone's watching a video, they can forgive a video mistake or not perfect looking video, but audio is very hard to forgive. If you can't hear someone, it's very hard to continue to understand their message. So
which we might be dropping the ball on that.
Oh, really? Can you not hear me?
No, yeah. I just think I was reading some comments that there's a little bit of echoing and some feedback, but we're all going to be calm and patient because the social situation, and when you're ready to go live on your video, we'll make sure you're equipped to do so. Right,
exactly. But yeah, regardless of whether you're going into your camera or if you're going, if you're just using your laptop or if you're using your smartphone, there are lavalier mics that will plug in directly to your iPhone that will plug right into your computer, and those will immediately improve the quality of sound so that you're getting the voice quality is much better. It's a much richer, fuller sound, and it doesn't capture everything that's happening in the room around you. So that's the most basic tips. And then Deborah, do you want me to go into just a little bit on lighting right now, or should we change gears just a little bit and come back to some more?
Yeah, I just have a couple questions about equipment, because not everybody is in a position to go out and buy a full setup. And so potentially, they're going to be using their phone or they're going to be using their webcam. So what are some tips or advice you have on, just like I don't want people to feel like they have to hold back until I have everything perfect. So how do they get started as inexpensively as possible just to get people going?
Yeah, so at the most basic, I think that the most important thing is there's a couple like quick tips and tricks that if you have zero budget, you don't want to invest anything, and you kind of want to see how this plays out using exactly what you've got. So as I mentioned, your smartphone actually has a very, very good camera in it, especially if you have an iPhone 10 or higher. We're not trying to plug Apple for any reason, but they have really good cameras in them. You always want to turn your camera for almost every purpose. You want to turn it to landscape mode rather than portrait. Yeah. And when you're in selfie mode, it's really tempting to, kind of look at yourself on the screen because you're really big right there on the screen. But instead, you want to actually look like right where the earpiece is. That's where the camera is. So it's really hard to do. You almost want to position it like a little bit like this so that you're reminded to look right into the lens. And that's a really good tip to remember. The other thing I would really encourage everyone to get, it's about $10. There's a little tripod adapter you can get for your phone so that you can just stick your phone in a tripod. And I think, Deborah, you have one of those. And
yes.
Basically that enables you to have a nice steady shot so you're not like moving all around and looking crazy. And then the other biggest tip is like, we've probably seen a lot of in Zoom meetings, those like Zoom double chins that have been happening. So you want to raise the camera just a little bit above eye level and tilt it down at you, just a little bit. You don't want to be way up here, like a Instagrammer, but you want to be kind of just a little bit above eye level so that you have that nice flattering look, and it makes you just look just a little bit smaller since the camera does add some weight.
Yes.
And then the other piece is, lighting is a critical piece, and we're actually struggling with that a little bit today too. I look really pasty. Natural light is a really good friend of yours, but of course, like the weather can play a major impact on that. So if it's a cloudy day and you're sitting near a window, that can actually be a really good lighting source for you. But a general rule is to just have nice, soft, diffused lighting hitting your face, and making sure that the background has some light on it as well. And speaking of that too, and this might be a good time to bring in Deborah Locker, since she's here now after some technical glitches. The other biggest piece that is a critical component to getting everything working in your home setup with zero budget is to create a set for yourself. And Deborah Locker, as we both work with Deborah Locker quite a bit, Deborah Locker Griffin.
Hey DL, can you just mute your mic while he's talking? Because I think we're getting the feedback because you guys are in the same space. So yeah, just mute your mic while he's talking. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is not in Deborah's official job description, but she always brings a sense of beauty and warmth and, knowing how to position things and creating this kind of virtual set. So Debra K, as long as you and I have been working together, we've been also working at the Locker, and she always kind of brings fresh flowers or, a nice set piece. So Deborah, why don't you talk to us a little bit about creating your own set and kind of creating the visual behind you.
Hi guys, can you hear me okay? Holy cow, I am so sorry that happened. I'm not really sure what happened. But that's a great example of anything can happen when you're on camera, especially when you're doing something live. So set dressing. We're all crammed in our houses right now, so it is kind of hard to do these calls, which Jason and I are in a beautiful location right now, as is Deborah. We're in a contained space. In your house, you're not probably going to have that. So if you have an office, close your door. Let everyone in your house know that you're going to be going on a call. If you don't have an office, try to find just a quiet area in your home, and engage your kids and your partner to help keep things quiet. Like if you have younger kids, have the older kids help them keep things quiet. But just let everyone know that you're doing this to minimize the distractions. So then you have this cute little area. I always like to have at least one plant in the background whenever I'm doing stuff from home. I also like to turn on a lamp in the background and then turn off my overhead lights. And Jason will probably get into this a little bit more, but you actually should be facing a window, not having the window behind you.
Yeah, which is exactly the situation I'm in. So I have absolutely zero lights on in this room, but I just happen to have the sun and a filtered sort of blind right in front of me. And so it's giving me a little cooler tone light, than what they are, but I'm definitely lit enough and there's not any weird shadows on my face and, all of that sort of stuff. And that's the kind of stuff you can check beforehand. So use your iPhone and just do a little shot of yourself, 3-5 seconds, take a look at it before you go live, because there's nothing worse than doing a 10-minute spiel and then you go back and you're reshooting it. So lighting is very critical to overall success.
That's right.
But Jason, I want to go back to what you were talking about earlier. So literally the inexpensive setup is so simple. So I will put a link in after this, or we'll send it an email to everybody. We have some lists. Jason's going to provide you guys with some basic equipment list. But definitely I bought a Bluetooth selfie stick that's also a tripod. And even if I'm doing a Facebook Live, I can stabilize it on my shoulder and it's not, like shaking and stuff, as you're moving around with your iPhone. So it can be a tripod and you're not having that weird arm, that's going like this, starting and ending your video because it's Bluetooth. So you just have something you click, you see the light go active and you're going live. So very inexpensive ways to get started with equipment for sure. Let's move on to on-camera presence, because this is definitely something we all have to practice and we all have to learn. So I can guarantee you I will go back and watch this, and I'm sure I said so and probably more than I really, really need to. So I'm still working on that. So nobody is expert, is 100% professional. We all say and it's really just unconscious effort to fill dead space. But really,
and I can tell you, as someone who edits many days of the week, everybody starts virtually every sentence with the word "so." So if you can do your editors a huge favor and really think consciously, don't say "so." Don't say "so" at the beginning of my sentences.
Yes, and really, it's just don't be too critical on yourself, because most of the time you're not even aware you're doing it. And as you become more conscious of it, like right now, I'm being very alert and will not be saying on accident, hopefully. So Deborah, why don't you walk us through some of your best tips on how to look great on camera?
Sure. And you guys are still hearing me, right? Good. The camera adds pounds. You've probably heard that. If you haven't been on camera, it really does. It adds about 10 pounds. So for women especially, we are very conscious of how we look on camera. So and I said so. When you're picking out your wardrobe, really think about things that make you look more streamlined. It's good to avoid, the flowy tops and that sort of thing, because those will add extra pounds. You will notice with the colors that we're all wearing, and we did not plan this, we all have on shades of blue. Blue is great on camera. Green, yellow, orange, bright pink, red, all of those bright colors, those jewel tones. And look at what the anchors and hosts in your local markets wear, and you can mimic that. Also, I know that you guys like white and you like black. I like those colors too. You can wear them on the bottom when you're on TV, but on top they drain you. So if you really must wear black or white, maybe add a colorful scarf with it, or a really colorful necklace, and that will help with that draining. Keep your jewelry small. Wear more makeup than normal. I don't ever look this made up. So definitely wear more makeup than normal, especially on your eyes. Keep your hair to a way that you're not going to want to touch it a lot. It's perfectly okay to pull your hair back. Absolutely. As you'll notice, I gesture a lot. I don't even know if I could talk if I didn't have hands. So with your gesturing, just watch where the camera is hitting you so that it makes sense the way that you're gesturing. Obviously, I wouldn't want to be gesturing low right now because the camera is up here. So you can watch that. And then don't fidget. I have some issues with doing that sometimes when I'm on camera. So, if you need to sit a certain way to not fidget, if you need to cross your legs, whatever it takes so that you don't fidget, because that is really, really magnified when you're on camera. Sit up straight, again, with the not fidgeting. But if you're sitting on a chair, obviously sit at the edge of the chair and sit up straight. And I think that those are my big, big tips.
Yes, and one of the things I want to address too is you have to dress so that you're comfortable, because if you feel like something's too tight or it makes you look fat or whatever, you're not going to relax into your brilliance, which really needs to be, I'm in a comfortable space, so what I want to come out is actually going to come out when I capture the video. So as long, all the tips that DL said, and then as long as you feel comfortable, you'll kind of put that aside, because I know, and maybe it's more women than men, if I feel like, oh my God, is this making me look fat? That's really what I'm thinking the whole time, so it's hard to deliver your content.
Yeah, I definitely think there's unfortunately a double standard for women. So what men wear will be pretty much forgotten, but what women wear will be remembered, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on whether you look good or bad, I guess. But one of the things I was noticing watching some of these coronavirus briefings is people like Dr. Birch, who has that, she always wears a really nice scarf, who has to see her on TV. But I think having a signature item that just looks really classy and put together can also be a nice benefit to your look.
Yep. So, guys, I'm just going to give you a really quick reminder. So, Jason, when you're talking, DL, if you could mute your mic, and then vice versa, because the only time we're getting the echo is if both of your mics are active.
Gotcha.
Perfect. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about as far as on being brilliant on camera is eye contact. So right now I'm literally looking at the webcam, and because I'm talking to you, the viewer. So a lot of times what I see start to happen is somebody is a little bit nervous. They've written out everything they want to say, and then they say, hi, welcome to my webinar today. I'm really, really excited that you're here, and I'm going to set this webinar up. And so there's this lack a connection that happens with the person that you're delivering the message to. And so one of the things that I've done as a host, and I've hosted quite a bit of video content now, is again, that pre-work for the segment. And this is what Deborah Locker is brilliant at, because she used to help me organize segments before we shot television shows. I didn't have to memorize anything, but I would have like talking points. So I could feel the flow of the information that I wanted to deliver, but I wasn't in my head trying to read it or trying to memorize it. So there will be times when it's most appropriate for you to talk to the viewer, like, hey guys, I'm so glad that you're here joining us today for this webinar. You know, I know your time is valuable. We're very thankful that you're here. And then there's other times, and if you noticed when DL was kind of going through her point, she just looked down. She said, okay, I'm going to talk about hair now. And then she came back to the viewer. She looked down, and then she came back to the viewer. So making eye contact is important. If you're in an interview situation, you can totally break contact with the person that's viewing, because you're interacting with the person that you're having a conversation with. Just remember, when you're closing and opening, and at certain times, if you want to say something to your audience, then you have to come back and make contact with your webcam or your camera. And that's, I think for some people, that's really intimidating, but it delivers the content in the best way possible.
Yeah, Deborah, I want to just say one other quick thing. And I know that you're very good at this too, but you know, a lot of people that have been asking us questions have been people who are educators or pastors, or, you know, people who are used to talking to big groups of people in a live setting. And they're trying to figure out how to transition to this virtual mode or do something on camera. And the big difference between doing a live event where you're speaking on a stage versus doing an on-camera type of presentation is that if you're an educator, if you're talking on stage, you're used to working the crowd. So you're looking at everybody, trying to make eye contact with as many people as possible. Whereas, you know, the video is so much more of an intimate medium. You always want to be looking at just that lens, and also be talking in a volume and tone as if you're talking to just one person rather than a sea of people. So even though you are talking to potentially thousands of people at a time, you want to concentrate on talking to that one person that's watching across the screen. You're pretending that you're making eye contact with them, essentially.
Yes. And another thing that's important too is, and I'm my own worst critic here, because I have a loud voice, and my voice can carry and it booms, and I don't need a lot of support with that. Right, guys? So I actually have to kind of moderate my voice down a little bit, but you don't have to like rush through your content. So stay calm, take a deep breath. It's okay to build in those silent spaces in between the points that you're going to deliver. So if I was going to, let's say, give a cooking tip, I can say, hey guys, thanks so much. I'm so excited you're moving to a plant-based diet. And the first thing I want to share with you is the value of adding chia seeds into your diet. Pause. You don't have to and keep filling the space. And, you know, so just take your time, stay calm, and deliver your message as thoughtfully as you can. And again, you have your talking points down here, so it's okay to break eye contact and then come back and start delivering your content again. So if everybody could just take a minute right now to pop in some questions. And, you know, so we have almost 70 people on this webinar, and what are you most interested in learning about? So are you doing video already? And if you're not, what is the thing that's holding you back from launching and starting to do video? Let's see if we can get some questions to come up here, and then we'll move on.
And Deborah, if you want to watch those questions, I will throw in some really boring tips that I think are important for lighting while we're waiting. If you think we should wait a minute.
We love boring but important.
Boring but important. This is the snoozer in class when you kind of, you know, you have to check your notes and reread them. But in terms of lighting, if you want to get a little bit better with lighting, one quick tip to remember is you should always try to turn off your overhead lights. Overhead lights always create like raccoon eyes on your face. So if you think about it, it creates shadows as the light comes down on your face, and then your eyebrows kind of create these shadows under your eyes, so it looks really bad. So always have light coming on your face at about a 45-degree angle. So not right in front, or you'll look completely washed out, and not from the side, or you'll look like you're in a Hitchcock film, but kind of like right at that 45-degree angle is the best angle. Really diffuse lighting is great, and you really can't do any better than natural light. So if you can sit, as we mentioned before, near a window, especially if there's not direct sun coming in, that's kind of one of your best options. And then my second biggest tip is to avoid mixing color temperatures. And this, to avoid getting really technical with this, the light coming in from outside has a bluer tint to it. And most lighting inside of a house has an orange tint to it. If you mix those two light sources, if you mix an orange and a blue light source, it makes you look really muddy and dull. So if you can try to isolate and only have light from one color temperature or the other, it really helps you look a lot sharper and a lot cleaner on camera.
Perfect. All right, we have some
Hi
awesome
guys, and I had a
questions
couple
coming in.
tips too to fill some space. What's your facial expression when you're on camera? You may have noticed when one of us is talking, the others are up, but we have just, you know, a very nice, warm expression. You'll want to keep that, and you'll want to keep it until the camera is off. Also, I've had several clients recently through the coronavirus that have been doing live TV interviews, but they're doing them from their home. So typically the host is actually in their home, and then my client is in their home, and it's very unusual. Obviously this is the first time in my PR career that this has happened like this. So lots and lots of people are having to set up, again, the sets and the lights and their stuff at home. Along with that, anything that you can do to make those segments more visual. So if you can, you know, work with the producer beforehand to send them videos, photos, graphs, any of those things, so that it's just not someone staring at you constantly for 4 minutes. So those are just some good tips. The whole TV, people doing it from their home to an anchor that's in their home is very unusual. Hopefully it will not continue that much longer, but it's hard to learn how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, let's go to some of these questions. So Margaret is asking, do you have a rule of thumb around the amount of preparation time relative to on-camera time, which is a great question. And when we started the webinar, that's really what you need to invest the time on the front end, because it's so much of your time and resource to go on camera. You got to take a shower that day, right? You got to fix your hair, put some makeup on, you got to find the right clothes. And so you really want to make sure that you're prepared. So often what I will do is, let's say I'm working with a new host who's, joining Well World TV, and we're talking about crafting a series. So before they ever go live, I make sure that we have really honed in on the overall series and the types of content that will flow in underneath what that series is going to be. And then also the segments. So, and again, Deborah Locker is a genius at this type of work. It's like a logistics producer who will help you map the path for your segments, because there's nothing worse than somebody who gets on camera, they're not really prepared, and then they just start talking, and they're off on different tangents. So it's definitely worth the time to think, okay, this is the path of my video. Here's my talking points that I want to hit, and then make sure that you deliver those. So there is definitely some pre-work involved. DL, do you have any comments to add to that?
I do. My clients love to be on TV. That's like the most fun thing to get to do. And then they realize how much work it is. But you don't just wake up and appear at the studio. You do have to take the time to get dressed, to do your makeup, to do your hair, to figure out what to wear. But then also, of course, those points. And then your segment's going to be about 3 to 4 minutes. So the first thing anyone ever says to me after the first time they've been on TV is, oh my gosh, that was so fast. And then the next thing they usually say is, gosh, it was so fun. So you're going to do a lot of prep work, and then you're going to execute, and it's going to go very, very quickly. Whereas with a lot of other types of PR, like written, that thing, it's more in the moment when you're doing them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Kim has a question about head angle, and I'm sure we can all speak to this. So I have started conducting a lot of these social type interviews. And again, you're going to run into everything that could possibly go wrong. But I have a philosophy as an interviewer. So as an interviewer, my obligation is to the viewer. So I need to try to do everything I can to make sure that the expert that I'm featuring stays on track. They're on point, because at the end of the day, we have to deliver something of value to the viewer. So this is going to get around to head angle in just a second. The second thing is I also want the person, the expert, to feel proud of the content that we created. So before we ever go live, as an interviewer, I have no problems in providing some in-the-moment coaching. So what you'll notice here is that there is equity between all of our presence on camera. So a lot of times somebody will come into a studio room and they might look like this, and then all of a sudden you're doing a recording with two normal people and a talking head. So I will tell, and this is very simple. If they're on their laptop, all they have to do is angle their laptop and bring equity to your head angle, because it's always best to have everybody equally represented. As far as face angle, that's more of a preference. I don't, kind of like to, if I have a good, that's more Instagram thing. I just like to talk to the people that I'm talking to. What do your guys thought as far as, how you're positioned for camera?
That's another great question. When I'm coaching clients, I tell them when they are in a studio setting to actually do angle themselves a little bit. So they don't want to be full on, because again, it adds the pounds, and then you don't want to be halfway, because that's just, so you just kind of want to angle yourself toward the host and definitely engage them and have a conversation with them. Whenever you're though on camera at home and that sort of thing, yeah, you just usually look straightforward.
Perfect. All right, Jason, this one's probably more up your alley, and I'll bring voice to it just a little bit at first, but we do have a couple people that are asking about editing software and how to do simple edits. So I have little to no skills in that area, but I do have iMovie. And so I have taught myself how to, download even a Zoom interview into iMovie, and then I can add just a simple little graphic on the front and the back end just to make it look a little more professional. This is not EMMY worthy content. I am not that type of editor. But Jason, what are your thoughts on, simple editing that people can learn how to do themselves, and then when do they need to upgrade to something different?
Yeah, that's a really great question, one that I get a lot. And unfortunately, as far as I know, there's not a lot of great options on a PC. So if you have just a PC and are looking for a simple kind of iMovie-ish solution, there's not a lot out there that I'm aware of. And if anyone in the community here that's watching happens to know of something that they've used and could drop us a link, that would be great. I honestly don't know of any. But iMovie is a great option, and honestly, a reason to get a pretty inexpensive Mac. Even a used Mac would be great, so that you can get iMovie. But there also is a free program which is used by professional editors and color graders called DaVinci Resolve. We'll put the link to that as well. This is an editing software platform it has a little bit of a learning curve, but there's a completely free version that does pretty much everything that the professional version does. You can download it for Mac and PC. The nice thing about this is it is a professional editor. So if you're using it, you can very easily transition to the full-blown DaVinci Resolve, or you can transition to Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro, or Avid, any of the professional editing programs. So I would say if you're looking for something small and easy, start with iMovie. And actually, you can even get iMovie on your phone. So if you're recording your videos on your phone, you can edit them iMovie on your phone and then export them and upload them to Facebook or wherever they're going to live. Otherwise, I would suggest DaVinci Resolve simply because it's free. And if you have some time, play around with it. Like I said, there's a learning curve, but you can find a lot of resources online for exactly how to edit step by step.
Yes. And there's so many online resources to help you with your editing. So if you want to move beyond the level I'm doing for myself right now, you can go to Upwork or Guru and import your job. There's a lot of online resources where you can hire somebody to help you take your editing up to the next level, which is, definitely what I need to do with some of mine. Let's see. We have another. Oh, I just said, see, I caught myself. Here's a quick question. Laura wants to know, okay, Facebook, can you delete your Facebook lives, or is that why they call it a live? So the reality is Facebook goes live. So if you hit that live button, you are going live, but at the end of that video, you have the option of whether you want to post it and keep it, or whether you want to make sure that it's not embedded into your feed. Do you guys have any other information about that? And that doesn't really matter whether you're using StreamYard, BeLive, or actually the Facebook app to go live. When you hit live, you are going to the page that you designated.
Yeah, my advice would be, unless there's some reason why that content can only live during the minutes that it was broadcast, I would say keep it live or keep it published forever. I think if you're going live, you're hoping to reach a pretty broad audience. And one of the advantages of going live is that whenever anyone logs into Facebook, it shows up as like the top in most people's news feed. It says, oh, so-and-so is live. And so it actually encourages a lot more views. So I would think that to encourage more views, I would definitely keep that video published unless there's a reason why the timeliness of it means that it should be deleted at the end of the broadcast.
Yeah, and build your confidence up. So a lot of these apps, like I use StreamYard, so I have a lot of hosts that are going live on Facebook. And so the app that I use is called StreamYard, and you can pre-record in that. So technically you can pre-record your interview. It's just similar to this. I'm the interviewer. I have somebody who's coming into the studio room. We start the show and I push record. It pre-records, and then I have a link where I can actually download that. Now, a lot of you guys may not know this, but you can make a video appear live on Facebook even when it's not. You go into the Creator Studio, you take your edited video, you put it into Facebook, you can schedule it, you can set a thumbnail, that will land on your page, and it'll say, premiering at 7 p.m., The Psychology of Wellbeing with Debra K is going to premiere on the page. And when it activates, it looks like a live video, even though you pre-recorded it. So if you're not confident enough yet to go live, I would definitely say pre-record, schedule it to go live, and then when you're ready, push the live broadcast button. So Cindy has a question about having a gold Venetian plaster background. Is that appropriate?
I think it sounds more than appropriate. A gold Venetian plaster background. Now, I think the important thing to remember, and I don't think we touched on this yet, is that what's behind you provides context. So and it's really important to your background or as a set, basically. So does the background enhance what you're saying and who you are? Now, ironically, I'm positioned in a building where we actually went somewhere because the internet is usually better. And what actually happened was the internet went completely down. That's why we lost us for a minute. So I'm not really in my native environment. If I did, it would look more like a set of cameras and set pieces and different things. That's what my normal set would be. But I think that to answer the question about the gold Venetian background, if that makes sense for what you're talking about, then it's perfect for being behind you. If you're wanting to talk about something like, I'm trying to think, if you're a medical doctor and you're talking about a treatment option for the common cold, that might be a little bit of a busy and distracting background for a topic like that. But if you're talking about, living in an elegant location or travel or, beauty or wellness, that'd be a fantastic background for you. So again, if it just sets the context, which all of our sets should do, it sets the context for who you are and backs you up as an expert in that field, then it's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like we have a couple more questions about going live. So let me just expand a little bit more on that. So now we have the question is what's the value of a live video versus a pre-recorded? So what I've noticed is if I post a link from YouTube into Facebook, it doesn't get a lot of traction because that's a pre-existing video that's coming into Facebook. If I even pre-record it and premiere it as a live video, so it's already a pre-edited video, I've set it up to shoot live to Facebook, it gets a lot more traction. But I have noticed if I go live in the moment, I think Facebook is friendlier to those because they want people going live on Facebook. But I would say it's not worth the risk if you're not confident yet. So build up your confidence, pre-record those videos, make sure you're ready to roll, because once you're going live, you either keep going or you abort, just like we did at the beginning of this webinar. You either keep plowing or you abort and abandon ship. So, and again, you can always delete it on the back end if you're just totally not happy with it. And, the risk of doing something horrible on live is probably not, it's not going to damage your business or ruin your brand, because I think social media is very forgiving. If you turn on the TV and you're watching a show and people are flubbing around, that's one thing. But if you're on social media, I think people are much more forgiving.
Well, I will say even on professional TV, it was funny. I just saw something on Good Morning America. There was this clip where one of the reporters was at home and he didn't realize, but the shot showed that he wasn't wearing pants, like he was just wearing like boxer shorts or something. So he didn't realize. I don't think anyone caught it until he like moved his leg, and then you could see, oh, there's his leg, he's not wearing pants. So even like right now, we're even seeing like on live TV, on network TV, that's happening. So I think people are forgiving, and just make sure that you're a little bit rehearsed with at least your content. Everything can go wrong, and it will go wrong, but I think it's you just have to kind of get over that fear and go with it, and just make sure that you've rehearsed your content.
Okay. Somebody has a comment here about adversary remarks to what I would like to speak about is what's holding me back from starting. I know that we can't please everyone, but what did you do to keep your mind and keep pleasing yourself as you felt yourself going? I have a little story to tell about that, and it involves Deborah and Jason. So when I had the first concept for my television show, The Journey into Wellbeing, they told me you have to create a demo reel first. So before we can go into PBS and pitch this concept, we have to create a sizzle reel. And I was like, okay, I don't know what a sizzle reel is, but whatever. So we scheduled a day of production. We were going to go to a gym. They were going to coach me to do some opening commentary for what the whole show was going to be about. And I remember specifically, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I think I was supposed to meet them at like 7. And my critical voice was on literally overdrive. And it was saying, oh my God, you're too old. You've never been on camera. Who do you think you are? You had 20 pounds, DL told you that camera's going to add 10 pounds and you probably have 20 you should have lost. Like, why are you doing this? And that voice just kept going on and on in my head. And then there was a moment in the silence, and I heard another voice that said, if you believe what it is that you're trying to create has the potential to positively change lives, who are you to not show up and share your message? And that everything shifted for me in that moment. And it became less important about my insecurities. And it became more important about what it was that I was trying to deliver. And the cameras rolled. And I mean, I remember that was my first time to work with Jason behind the camera. And we were in the gym, if you guys remember, with Jim. We were in the gym with Jim. And I remember talking to camera, and I was like, I have to deliver this. Like, I have to do this. And I'm not going to end this feeling like I didn't give it 100%. So that's a long story to answer a question. But if you believe in what it is that you're sharing, don't let anybody else stop you from trying to share that. And then surround yourself with the right people who believe in what it is that you're trying to create, because you'll get that support.
And a couple of things I was going to add to that. You're an expert, so own that expertise. So, when you're invited to be on the TV show, when you know all those things, own that expertise and know that they want you there because you know what you're talking about. And then when you're talking, just imagine that you're having a conversation with one person. Forget the cameras, forget the lights, forget all the other people you might see on the screen, which is hard. And just think of having that one-on-one conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the other piece to remember is you've got to remember the internet is full of haters, but they're few and far between. But they do tend to be very vocal. They're way more vocal than the average person who just enjoyed the content and didn't leave a comment. I remember watching a video where a little kid was watching his sister play in a recital, and she was playing Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, which is arguably one of the most beautiful pieces ever written. And there was a hater in the comments on that video because this little kid started crying and got emotional because of his sister playing the piano. I was like, people can hate a video like that. They can hate your video too, and it's nothing personal. It's just there are just some people out there that just have a lot of bad stuff going on, and they can't help but just, reflect that hate that's going on in their life. So don't let a couple haters, and you'll see them on any video that you watch, don't let those haters deter you from doing what you're called to do and meant to do.
Yes. So we have time for one more question, and then we're gonna wrap this up. We'll answer these questions separately if we didn't get to your question. But one of them is, and probably we all have some thoughts on this, Jason, maybe you in particular, but it is a lot to just talk. And so there is potential to work in like PowerPoint slides or some B-roll. And so one of my hosts, Laura Saltman, she has a show she does called Wake Up Well. She goes into StreamYard, and literally it's a show just like this where you're interviewing, but then she downloads it into her editing app. And we have access to a video B-roll company, and she can find appropriate B-roll and insert that occasionally. So there's a little bit of of interesting transitions. What are you guys' thoughts on how to do that effectively?
Yeah, I think, it's really important, I think, to have someone that can focus on the technical aspects of your broadcast and then someone who can focus on the content. So most likely, I'm guessing that a lot of people that are watching today are probably people who are content experts and who are wanting to, host their own content or lead their own video channels. I think it's really important to try to find someone that can help you with some of the technical aspects. It's really hard. We were all kind of scrambling today because a lot of us are used to being behind the camera. At least Deborah Locker and I are used to being behind the camera. We're now on camera. And so it's like you're also setting up the camera, being on camera. So it's tricky. So having a person to help you with that is really, really, really great. I think that if you have a medium that's going to lend itself to, or I should say a topic that's going to lend itself to having a lot of supporting graphics, PowerPoints, and things like that, but you're kind of a one-man or one-woman show, I think it's very important to do the pre-recorded option and to do a video premiere on Facebook like Debra K was talking about, because you can then edit those segments together. So what I would suggest there, if you want to be really simple and you just want to have some PowerPoint slides to go along with what you're saying, PowerPoint, you can export all of your slides to a PNG or PDF file, and then those will come into your editing software. So you can you record your video track and then put it in the slides over top of yourself. You can even do some fun things where there's like a picture of like you in the corner with a PowerPoint slide. You can do all that in post-production if you're just a one-woman, one-man show. So I would suggest that those things are very helpful. And I kind of wish that on this that we did have a technical director that could have been like, okay, here's our 50-point slide thing going. But we're a scrappy crew right now, so we had to kind of make do. So hopefully the content has been worth it, we hope. But right. I think it doesn't to add video clips, to have segments, and to break things into small chunks. Have a 3-minute intro and then 5 minutes of a cutaway video that you've pre-recorded, come back to something live, break it up a little bit. Just as you watch news shows, they do this all the time. They'll tease something and then they'll come back to it later. That's really, it's important to think about pacing and how people want to receive their content.
Yes. And to bring everything to a close here, really the most important message is what we started out with, which is just believe that, yes, you have something of value to share, and don't let that critical voice keep you from doing the steps that you need to take to really become excellent on camera. And my philosophy is, if you're not mortified by the first video you put online, then you waited too long, right? So, like I look back at some of my original video and I was like, oh boy, okay, well, at least I did it. So if you got nothing else from this webinar, and hopefully the audio and everything wasn't too challenging for everybody, it's just to just move forward and take that next step to really start creating video, because it is the future. It's not going anywhere. YouTube, one of my connections was telling me that YouTube is, people are searching for content on YouTube as much as they are on Google. So everybody wants video. And when we are in situations like we are today, it becomes even more important. So do you guys have any closing statements? And then I'm going to put up the slides I was supposed to put up at the beginning and put those up now.
No, I would just echo what you just said, Deborah. I had, when I was in my semester of film school in LA, they were talking, the screenwriting professor said, we had to write a feature-length screenplay, which is a 120-page script, basically. He said, now the end product for this class is to write a really crappy 120-page feature-length screenplay. And we're all like, well, that's not good. He's like, you have to write a crappy screenplay before you can write a half-decent screenplay. And you have to write a half-decent one before you can write a good one. And you have to write about 10 good ones before you can write a really, really good one. So I think that applies to just about anything, and especially to being on video. You're going to do a couple, hopefully just a couple of not so great videos before you realize you're getting better at it. And you can learn from yourself. So I think just try it. And honestly, if you don't want to, your first time should not be a Facebook Live. You should record some stuff on your own, then just delete it and re-record it. So don't feel intimidated just because there's a camera looking at you. You can definitely do it.
Yes, and you can. I'm going to let you speak. Jason, what is your email? I'm going to type it here in the comments because you do work with people. It's jason@dapper.co?
It's actually jason@dapperagency.com.
Yeah, so if you want to reach out and connect with Jason, I just put his email in the comments. And then Deborah, do you have some closing thoughts you would like to share?
I do. My background before PR, I was a TV reporter and producer in news. and news has changed obviously a ton since I left it, but every story is about the story. So even though this has focused a lot on which camera to use, how to look on a camera, that sort of thing, the most important part is the story. So be prepared to tell it with emotion and energy and love. So that's my huge thing. And I always tell my clients that, just, you're going to get really nervous, all these things, but just remember the story, remember your points, remember your message, remember what you want people to remember that you said.
Yes. And Deborah, people can reach you at Deborah at
DeborahLockerGroup.com. And I didn't get to introduce myself because I was not on camera, but I own a boutique PR firm in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm a very proud Kentuckian. And I mainly work with spas, beauty, lifestyle, and wellness. I've had my firm since 2008. I've been doing PR since 2001. Actually, I worked in the International Spa Association, which I bet a lot of you guys on here have a spa background. And then before that, I was a journalist.
Yes. And I want to give a special thanks to Stephanie Rest, who helped bail us out. She's with Caribbean Wellness and Education. And these presentations and webinars are a collaboration that her and I are working on with Sophia Heiderhawk, who owns Papilia. And let's put up our slides that I was supposed to do. Here we go. Watch this. Here's some technology in the moment. So obviously this webinar was Mastering the Art of Video. These are our guests. And then I also wanted to just let you know that at Well World TV, we are dedicated to helping you find your voice, craft your message, go on camera, share your brilliance with the world, but also have strategy and ways to monetize your content. So if you're interested in finding some support, that's really what we do. So you can reach me directly at Debra K at wellworld.tv. So thank you everybody for tuning in today. We appreciate it, and we will go back and answer your questions. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Love you. Bye.